the NFL Combine, the Train with the Best podcast. I am Craig Hoffman, again solo in terms of the host of this podcast, but only kind of. Chris is sick again, but there was once a third ghost on this fine podcast. His name is Lorenzo Alexander, and he is here. Thanks for stopping by, man.
Yeah, my pleasure. You know, I ain't seen you in a while, so it's always good to be able to catch up.
Yeah, man, for sure. Life in Buffalo, we were just catching up on the way over here. Life is good. Wife is good. Kids are good. Yeah. How did you think the season went? Let's do. I feel like that's what we do on this podcast. Our annual season recap.
You're just trying to catch up and plug back in. I think from a personal standpoint, I had a really productive season. You know, whether you look at it from an analytics standpoint or a stat standpoint, based on how I'm played and how they use me, played really well. You know, had 6.5 sacks, about 70 tackles, and just my biggest thing is being impactful and disruptive when I play, and not necessarily all about the stats. But just helping my team win or putting us in good position. So it was really fun after maybe having like a down year, that first year, making that transition, going from a Rex Ryan defense to now a Leslie Frazier, Sean McDermott style, 4-3 defense. And so really found my stride. The coaches understood what I brought to the table, being a versatile player. And I think things really meshed well. You know, we had the insurgence of Tremaine Edmonds, Matt Milano took a step forward. We had a guy, Levi Wallace, who's an undrafted corner out there playing. And then you have your staples, Kyle Williams, Jerry Hughes, added Trent Murphy from the Redskins. And our defense was dominant. We were, I think, finished second in the league. And so that was very encouraging to be a part of a unit. You know, team-wise, didn't do as well. We were 6-10. But the perspective could easily be different because we could have easily been 9-7. And when I say 3 plays made the difference, it was literally 3 plays, and that's how tight this league is. And so teams think of, or people think of Buffalo being 6-10. They weren't that good. But if we were 9-7, they'd be like, oh, they're on the cusp of doing something special. So, but we want to be able to grow from there. Obviously Josh Allen, everybody knows about him and the playmaking ability. But just really looking forward to him growing as a pocket passer. I thought he was a great playmaker last year, but just developing those skills that allow you to have longevity in this league, and mainly that's from the pocket. Obviously, your legs give you another dynamic thing that people have to prepare for, and it allows you to do more. And then I'm looking forward to seeing what our front office does. You know, Brandon Beane has done a great job, I think, since becoming a GM, along with Sean and their relationship as far as bringing in high-quality players through the draft, which a lot of times has been seniors. You think about Tre'Davious White, guys that are a little bit older, stay in college longer. Harrison Phillips was another guy last year I thought did really well. So adding some more pieces in the draft since we're down here in Indy, so they're really getting a chance to see these guys up front, get a peek of who they are and what they bring from I guess just a skill set from what you do in shorts.
Right.
And then right after this, in a couple of weeks, we'll be having free agency. So, we have a lot of money to spend. So it's going to be exciting for us to be able to add pieces that's going to help us take the next step.
No doubt. Obviously, Josh is the headline grabber. You take a quarterback in the first round.
Right.
And you guys had such an interesting year at the quarterback position with him going out and some of the other struggles that happened. I hate to put you back in this mental space, but
to say the least, we had our struggle. I think we were the worst offense in the history of the league for a while.
Okay, so you were the worst offense in the history of the league for a while.
Yeah.
And while you're playing on a defense that was really good. Like, how do you stay focused week in and week out, feeling like, oh my God, if we're not perfect, like we're screwed?
Yeah, and that's part of the challenge, right? I think we're all competitors out there, and people say that we were an elite defense, but me and Kyle Williams, we were looking for more. You know, if you want to be in that echelon, and obviously we finished number 2 statistically, but I think we were probably further back in the pack as far as winning games. And when you when I thought of teams like maybe like a Baltimore or a Houston team where their defense literally figured out ways to win games, whether it's creating a strip sack, interception to the house, we weren't able to do that. So those are some things that I look at, from our side that we could have done better. Was it frustrating? Did you want your offense to do better? Yes, but within any family or any team atmosphere, everything is not going to go perfectly. And as a leader, it's up to me to keep my mind at ease so everybody around you doesn't panic as well. Because when they see guys that have been in the league for a long time or who are deemed your leaders, if I'm panicking or I'm upset, yelling at the offense, then everybody around you starts feeling that same way, and you
Yeah.
lose sight of your own job, and then everything goes astray. So I thought we did a great job from a leadership standpoint, keeping things in perspective, because we did have a young nucleus of guys, obviously a young quarterback, and you want to be able to encourage and lead from a positive light, because when you start pointing fingers and trying to call out guys, you're not doing this, that's just a dumpster fire. I've been around that. I've been through that, so I've learned from those mistakes as far as seeing other guys do that as a young player. And so I hope that I'm doing a better job as far as leading when things aren't as bad, because I think this team has a lot of potential to do something special next year.
With Josh and the unique skill set that he has, like, you've been around this league a long time.
Yeah.
Like, what's the craziest thing he ever did in a game, practice? Obviously, there's probably things that drove you crazy.
Right.
But as a rookie, I mean, from an athletic standpoint.
And it's been a double-edged sword with some of the stuff, because, he's a playmaker, and I think more so with his legs than people even thought. Even me watching him in practice, OTAs, training camp, mini camp, I never really saw that dynamic. But then you see the dude running and then jumping over, I think it was Anthony Barr or something like that in the Minnesota game, Air Josh, as they called him. And you like, man, that dude is dope. And then I found myself throughout the season, because I'm coming from a veteran, perspective, what I think my quarterback should be doing, the decisions should be making.
Hey, kids, stay on the ground.
I'm like, hey, get out of bounds, get out of bounds, get out of bounds. No. Oh, yes, keep doing it. Do that. So I found myself doing that often just throughout the year. But, his obviously his legs really shown. His arm strength is ridiculous. I mean, I think for the first month of OTAs or minicamp, I mean, guys, DBs were literally kind of jumping out the way if they could get their hand on a ball, or even some of the receivers. Just his arm talent is just crazy, ridiculous to see some of the passes and throws he can make in tight windows and off balance. But I know for Josh, he wants to continue to grow as far as understanding this playbook that Brian Dable brought in last year. It's very, I won't say complex, but it's very much so. If you think about the Patriots and how each week they are attacking your weaknesses, so it looks different, but it's all the same.
Yeah, it's shiftable.
So he just having a better grasp of that from week to week, because obviously that's young for a quarterback when you're not just maybe doing one or two things. And then obviously with that, I think comes then some of the things with his accuracy that people talk about, being able to have some touch on the ball. When you don't have to think about what you have to do, then some of those other things just become more natural. I can just put this ball right here. I'm not thinking about, okay, where's it going to be? Oh, no, it's right here. And then you end up firing it, just something out of your natural tendencies that you've just learned over your lifetime playing football. So I look towards that. And the great thing about Josh, unlike some of the young guys that come out sometimes, he doesn't have an ego. He has a blue-collar mindset and a willingness and the humbleness about him to work on some of the things that people have criticized about him, because when you talk to him, he's probably his own worst critic and wants to grow, and that's when you can really know when somebody has it.
Yeah, for sure. All right, that's enough football. This is a training podcast. You, sir, are embarking on a training career yourself, or at least getting certified. What have you learned so far? I know you just kind of got started with it, but first of all, why did you choose to go with the EXOS certification, and then what are some of the things that you've initially kind of dove into?
Well, obviously EXOS is a worldwide brand now. It's been around for years. I've had some experiences working with them, training with them, PA partner. The service is free for players, and it's just another tool that I can put in my toolbox to help young student athletes as I transition away from the game, as well as continue to help myself and understand why some things have really worked for me over my career, or maybe try to find a way I can tweak some things as far as what I do in preparing. And you can ask Gorez, as I'm going through this thing, I'm like that young rookie, or I'm in the league, I'm learning new information. Well, what about this, Gorez? Why are we not doing it this way? Or why don't you have this exercises in here? As I kind of learn about the pillar or the core, as as we call it, about different exercises. And so I guess the biggest thing, and that's kind of where I've really started at, I'm still really in the introduction part of the certification, is really understanding the why behind a lot of things. And when we talk about the pillar and the core, something that really stood out about it, because I think just from a general perspective, you think, you do crunches, you got a big six pack, you're strong, and but really, I mean, the core from our shoulders down to our pelvis is more about transferring and absorbing power. And so it's just a different way to think about it. And it really made me realize, or, put things in an enlightenment moment. I'm like, oh, this is why Pilates is so impactful, or has been so impactful in my career and my training regimen, because that's exactly what the foundation of Pilates is about helping the core connect, transfer power, and also be able to absorb power while you're competing.
Oh, without question. And I think the other biggest misconception about the core is that it's just your abs and your rectus abdominis, the six pack, and once you realize
pelvis, hips, shoulders,
it's everything, and how many layers that your abdominal muscles have. Like if you don't engage the right ones, and that's been a huge change I've made since I went down to Miami and went to DVC. I made a couple slight changes in how I do certain things, and the engagement I get is just so much better. Exactly.
And just having that understanding and that knowledge base is, just opens up your eyes. And not that you're necessarily doing something wrong, but you can do it better. Right. And that's always, let's figure out the best way, the most efficient way of training. And I really love this knowledge base that I'm learning from EXOS.
Is there anything specific that you're really looking forward to getting to, whether you flipped ahead in the book or you just kind of know, like, oh, I can't wait till we get to this kind of movement, or how to coach this, or whatever it is?
I love running fast, so linear speed, stuff like that, dynamic strength, things that's going to help me be able to coach because really all this is, I think at the core of this is to put my kids at an advantage that I didn't necessarily have, or was lucky to have, because I had people in my life that were trained in that field, be a part of my life, and so to be able to provide that for them. But, you want to be able to run fast, baby. Speed is king in my world, and especially the way sports is really transcended towards that direction. So just be able to have that knowledge base, especially like the speed components, really help them.
Yeah, and EXOS obviously knows quite a bit about linear speed. They've been teaching combine prep and been out ahead of that, and just human movement in general for a long, long time.
Right.
What eventually, you obviously said your kids, you want to apply it to yourself. Like, do you want to train athletes? Like, what eventually do you want to do with this knowledge?
I think just kind of thinking ahead, in the next couple of years as I kind of transition away from the game, mentoring and giving back is a huge part of my passion, and I think that's why I serve on the NFLPA executive committee and have been a rep, just because I like helping the next generation of young men in the league. But outside of football, and I mentioned this earlier, as far as having people help me out, free services as far as training when I was in high school, I would love to be able to provide that to young men and women in the area that I decide to live in. We're going to be out in Arizona. And so outside of just saying, well, I played in the league 15 years and I was a great athlete and I did all this change, so you need to work out this way, I want to have some substance to what I'm saying and be able to give them whys and the best practices. And you obviously have to educate yourself.
Yeah. On the mentoring side, how easy or hard is it to mentor guys outside of your locker room? Because it's one thing to take a Tremaine Edmonds who gets drafted. Yeah. You just mentioned how many seniors have. Right. Not him.
Right.
He's a baby coming into the league. I think he was still 19.
Yeah, he was 19.
And so you have a kid like that, that's pretty easy, logical. He's in your position group. But, you meet a kid at the combine or you connect with someone, like, how hard is it to keep up with these guys during the season and during your busy life outside of the season?
Yeah, it's definitely hard. It's almost impossible to do anything like that during the season. And so, like, the off season, and then once I retire, you're able to spend or change a lot of your time commitments to now focusing more on helping, young people, just because you have more time and availability to do it. And then obviously what I've done in the league always solidifies the process of what I choose to do, if that makes sense. Because you have to have some type of success, and then that also helps guys who don't know you outside of your locker room, because Tremaine gets to see me every day.
Right.
So he knows how genuine and what I actually do. I'm not just talking about it. But guys outside of your locker room, that other, I guess, barrier that you have sometimes outside of time is, well, I don't know you. So sometimes your resume precedes you, and the guys are more open to receiving your information or your suggestions that you're trying to help them with.
Yeah. I know Chris was tweaking some stuff. Always is trying to just get better with your program. What are some of the things that you've noticed so far this offseason that you really are that are a little bit different than years past? And how's the offseason training going so far as you've been in phase one? Which we talked on one of the last pods that you hate. You hate this time of year.
I do hate this time of year because it's oftentimes.
Actually, no. He said phase 0 was even worse than this.
Phase 0 is the worst because you're talking about movement, mobility. You're just doing exercises that take a lot of time and patience, and you can't necessarily just grind your way through it because how fast or how slow you do it, it hurts.
Yeah.
So I'll shoot him a text from time to time and say, I hate you. These things suck.
That's now been confirmed on both ends on this podcast.
just to let him know I'm thinking about him and that his workouts are working. But for the most part, we have it pretty much dialed in as far as what we do. So we're not really changing too many things. I don't think he's tweaked too much of what he's done last year. He may change an exercise, but it's accomplishing the same thing.
Well, it's funny too because like he was posting up the workout on Instagram this morning on his story, and I was like, I remember this workout. I did that one with you last year.
So
last night got a little late for me to join you at 6:30 this morning. But,
so if it's not broken, it's not necessarily to fix it. I try to, when I do the workouts, become more efficient in what I'm doing and maybe focus on certain areas that I may need a little help on. So I may spend a little bit more time or do a couple of exercises, like especially the single leg stuff, really slow it down the motion and really focus on making sure I'm in the right position, my ankles, because I have stiff stuff, and so just really slowing myself down. And so I think from my side, I've probably changed a little bit more versus what the actual workout is.
How has it been working out without him there in person? I know you got a guy you're working with, but how different is it?
It's extremely different. So, because he can actually watch me, and I was even training with a guy in Arizona. I did Chris Gorez's workout, but he was kind of overseeing it. And I think because I'm a professional athlete, he's a little bit hesitant to correct me, because I'm an older guy. Where with Chris, we've kind of grown together and have that friendship, and where he'll tell me something, I might not say, oh, yeah, I feel that, but he knows that I'm taking that correction in, and trying to make an adjustment with it. And that's probably the hardest thing, not having him around all the time, is because if I'm not necessarily doing the exercise properly, or I may be just sore that day and I may be tweaking, it's hard to have somebody there to say, oh, hey, you need to correct your hips, or try to stick that, or just the little things that make you challenge your body even further. And then also, like today, we were, because last week we crushed it on Monday. I mean, he had all this upper body stuff, and my arms literally felt like they were about to fall off. And so that was my first time really lifting, and so I've just been tight in my chest. And like today, he could notice that in my movement. So he just made an audible, and we added some stick mobility in there for your shoulders. And then instead of doing like fly push-ups, we did reverse fly. So some of those things where I wouldn't have changed, I would have just done what's on the card, just because that's how I'm programmed as I can just go through it. Even though if I feel tight, well, from his perspective, he's okay, let's be efficient and be safe about it. And if we have to make an audible, let's check it. Yeah.
And that'll be probably a cool thing for you as you take this certification and learn more, is like you get to call your own audibles.
Right, yeah. Start being my own, Payton Manning and check it at the line. And so that's another reason why you just want to continue to learn and figure out why. Because sometimes you can do the same exercise a different way, but it just attacks the body a little bit differently.
My favorite's not the Payton, it's the Jared Goff, where he goes, "Oh, sorry, Sean, I couldn't hear you."
Oh,
what?
Well, that's a Cal guy, man. He's probably smarter than his head coach, and he knows
Sean
the best
McVay's
call.
not smart, not at all.
He's okay. He's not a Cal guy, but he's okay.
Mediocre at best.
Yeah, I was around Sean. I think he gets a little bit too much credit for how smart he is. Now, no, I'm playing.
Yeah,
Sean is great.
I spent a lot of time around Sean, and that dude's taught me more about football than just about anybody else.
Right.
So,
no, he's really good.
Do you, like, when you interact with Chris in terms of the workouts and stuff, what kind of feedback do you give him? Because he and I talk on the pod about, like, what it's like to train online, or, and whether that's formally or just, like, giving advice or something like that. But from the client side of it, what kind of things do you try to give him, whether it's video or just text feedback, or what do you guys communicate about?
I'll try to do video and post, and he may notice something. I know he's done that in the past where, like I said, the guy in Arizona was training me and posted something, and he was like, hey, Zoe, you may want to think about this. I've also, and I think over the years I've learned to trust some of his methods, because initially I'm more about just, let me throw around some weight.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, well, why are we not doing? And some of my questions have been answered just because I've been with him, so I know what he's thinking and the process that we're going through.
Right.
So some things I don't even really challenge him on anymore because I know where I'm going to end up when it's time to peak or when it's time to get ready for the season. And it's done great wonders. So for me, it may be more so of asking him, making sure I'm doing the exercise right, or if there's variations, depending on how I'm feeling or, how sore I am or how good I feel.
Yeah. He's so good on the video stuff too. I remember I sent him a deadlift once, and he just all of a sudden I get a coach's eye video back, and there's lines drawn over the place. He's like,
right.
Just do this, make this, an inch here, and I'm like, man, you're so good at this, it's ridiculous. For you, last question. What's the goal this year? Like when you think of writing down, I don't know if you set goals like that, but like if you were to write down your goals for the 2019 season, like what are they?
I want to win a championship, and there's a lot of things that you have to do in between now and then. I think I'm at a certain level where I know where I want to be, and for me, it's not. I don't care about stats and sacks and tackles and all that. I just want to be impactful and on the field as far as being disruptive, as I said. And if another guy makes a tackle, great, because we out there balling together. And then want to be impactful in the locker room and help build young men up and allow them to understand what really this platform that we have and the resources that we have at our disposal, how to use them properly, and just how to just to be a man, because the better man you are, I feel the better football player you are, and all that stuff works together. And so that's really my goal: be a great leader, be impactful in the field, and then hopefully be able to lead this organization into becoming a perennial playoff team. If not, jump up and surprise everybody and win a championship this year. And so that's what I always set my eyes on. And after watching, the Super Bowl, I'm like, man, we can beat New England. I mean, I know we can beat them. I mean, it's all about playing consistent football. So I'm just reaching out to our young leaders, Tremaine and Josh, is like, hey, we can do this. We have to go into the season thinking that we're going to win a championship, not thinking, I need to get a little bit better this year, or we need to see if we can get to 9 or 10 wins or even get to the playoffs. We need to be thinking we're going to win a championship. And so every day that we are preparing or whatever that looks like, we have that in our mind, in the back of our mind. It's win a championship, because I think teams often sell themselves short just based on mindset alone. We don't have the pieces, even from a coaching perspective, we don't have the pieces. We don't have this right person. If you have a mindset, because New England is good, obviously, because of Tom Brady. They have some good players, but when you look at them as a totality-wise, the talent level is not significantly better than anybody else in this league. But they have an expectation. The playoffs it's just part of the standard. They know they're going
right.
there. They're not even worried about that.
Right.
The expectation is to win a Super Bowl. That's the difference between them and the rest of the league. They expect to be there every single year, and they expect to win it. And when you have that type of mindset and that standard in your locker room and the way you prepare, more likely than not, you're going to at least be in a position to be able to compete for one. And that's where I need to help get this locker room together, because as young guys, you're not thinking about that. I wasn't thinking about this 5 years ago with this mindset. And so trying to help expedite that mindset, especially with Josh Allen and Tremaine Edmonds, because those are the guys that are going to really carry this organization for the next 4 or 5 years. And if they have it, it's infectious, because they're natural leaders, and everybody else around them will start feeling that way as well.
As that mediocre coach in Los Angeles is fond of saying, the standard is the standard.
Right.
And if you hold it up to that and no, this is the standard. There are no excuses.
Yep.
Magic can happen. Always good to have you. Always good to see you, whether it's on a podcast or not.
Always.
Appreciate your time, man.
All right, brother.